Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So I'm reading today for Scorpio energy and I'm reading it ahead for November. So I am reading kind of collective Scorpio energy. It's kind of general Scorpio energy. So you as an individual watching this, just remember that you've got a complex personal birth chart and it's got a lot of different zodiac signs, a lot of different houses in there. So not everything I'm saying is going to be for you specifically as an individual, but you may find some of the themes coming up. You may find like you're dealing with people who are kind of acting the way that I'm talking about. I can't quite tell where your energy is in this reading. You're coming through as two different ways. So again, I don't know who you are. I don't know if this is kind of two parts of yourself, but we've got this kind of very soft kind of feminine Scorpio energy coming through. It feels very cups. It feels very much like of the heart. You actually start the reading with divine feminine, and then there's this kind of masculine Scorpio energy that's coming through. I'm hearing Mars the aggressor. That's interesting. So Scorpio, you I see you as being ruled by Pluto, but I think traditionally you used to be ruled by Mars. So it's making me think of like Augustus. I've got my eyes closed for some reason in your reading. I don't normally do this. It's making me think of Augustus Caesar and how he associated with Mars the Avenger. But you've got Mars the aggressor. So the Mars energy feels a lot more forceful. It feels a lot more like fire energy, kind of like King of Wands perhaps, but it is all coming through as Scorpio. It's like two sides of Scorpio, kind of like the fire and the water almost, kind of like High Priestess, and then almost like maybe like Emperor energy. I'm just thinking of like how Emperor is traditionally ruled by Mars. So take it as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. It might be that you, if you're a Scorpio watching this, it could be that you're dealing with another Scorpio, or specifically someone with a Mars Scorpio placement, which again is coming through as very sexual. Again, very fire, very Wands energy, very sexual, very physical, where the feminine Scorpio energy, which I want to say is probably what I'm reading for, because we start with the divine feminine, is a lot more, it's kind of like a lot more ethereal, it's a lot more soft, it's a lot more of the heart, it's a lot more cups, gentle, supportive, nice, nurturing energy. So again, it's kind of coming through two different ways. So I want to say it could be that there may be two people who have different needs in relationships. It may be that you personally could be fighting with your own needs and desires in relationships. So it doesn't have to be relationships, by the way. I'm going to kind of put different spins on what I'm reading, but for those of you who it is kind of like, what do I want from a relationship? It could be that you need kind of, you know, you need to feel safe, you need to feel loved, you need to feel affection and kind of like the heart and cups energy. But at the same time, you could have a very physical sexual need, maybe quite experimental. You may, it's kind of coming through as like hungry, or I was hearing like voracious, like a voracious appetite. So it could be that somebody has a very high sex drive, but it's almost like, are these two needs competing? Are these two different people with different needs in relationships, and it's not equalizing, it's not working out? Or is it that you have different competing needs within you, and it could be driving you to want to explore relationships outside of perhaps your more traditional relationships? Can all those needs be satisfied by one person? So again, it doesn't have to be relationships and sexual. It could just be kind of like your drive. You know, a lot of us, we have the need to feel nurtured and supported, perhaps by family or by friendship groups, and have those kind of feelings of love. And you know, it's like it's kind of like, is it oxytocin? It's kind of like the need to feel love, right? The need to care for things, the need to nurture, the need to feel cared for and nurtured ourselves. But at the same time, you know, having the need to go out and adventure, kind of like flying the coop, but always having the coop to come back to. Is like, or the nest. I don't know why I'm saying coop, like a chicken coop. But like, you know, having the place where it's kind of like the heart of the home kind of thing, like your base, like your jumping off point, that's kind of like the nurturing environment that you can explore from, and then like having the exploration. You could have You could be on the cusp of Sagittarius or have Sagittarius placements, because that is very fiery. And you have things like the World here, which I do see as sometimes being a Sagittarius card, right? The need for adventure, the need to experiment, the need to explore. But we're also getting quite a bit of Capricorn. Again, the World card can mean Capricorn to me, and yet that's with the Mischief card and the Puka card. And one of your songs is Karma. And now Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is known as the planet of karma. So Capricorn, or the house of Capricorn, so that would be the, hang on, let me just work it out. That would be the 10th house, I think. It makes me think of Count Duckula when the moon is in the 10th house. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something about like when the moon is in your personal 10th house. So if you look at your birth chart and you know which zodiac sign corresponds to the 10th house for you, there could be something about moon cycles and when, because you're getting this thing about cycles. So when the moon is in your 10th house, I think it actually says 8th house in Count Duckula, but I'm hearing it as 10th for you. So yeah, somebody could be having a Saturn return. So if you don't know what that is, I think it's on something like a 20-year cycle. It's kind of these big pivotal moments of our life where Saturn returns to its home position in our birth chart. It's a very slow moving planet. It takes a long time to get around our chart, and when we have a Saturn return, it's like a big wrapping up and a big new beginning phase. I'm hearing consolidation, like almost like consolidation of the lessons is the way it's coming through. So yeah, do just check your birth chart and see if you're having a Saturn return. Again, I think it's on like 20-year cycles or something like that. So worth checking out. So what else do I have for you? Okay, so you've got the soil. The soil talks to me about what nurtures you. You know, if you think about planting trees or plants, you know, if you've got a really rich, nutrient-rich soil, it's a really good environment for those plants to grow in. So the soil can talk to me about like a good environment. Again, maybe this is about your home, maybe this is about your family life, or you know, your kind of, it's like your resting place, whatever that is for you. So it could be your family home, it could be your own personal home. Maybe some of you live alone, but you want your home to be like, it's kind of coming through like a nest, right? It's like you need it to be, maybe you're feathering your nest, right? Robin feathering his nest has very little time to rest. So maybe you're kind of making your home feel very cozy. They're showing me pine cones. Okay, so what I'm getting from that is like some of you are decorating for kind of like fall and winter, right? And you know, when the season changes, it starts to get a bit colder, and we want to have like, you know, the warm fire and like or you know, the nice cozy warm decorations. Maybe you're getting like the throws out for kind of like, so guests can come over and kind of like snuggle up under a blanket. It's kind of like you're making your nest, your home really feathered is the way it's going through. So or if you're not doing that personally, or if this isn't something that you're experiencing in your immediate environment, so for some of you, you could be in a very difficult living situation where you don't perhaps feel super safe, which is hard, and I'm sorry if that's your situation. That's not, you know, I wish everybody had a nice feathered nest, right? But sometimes we have these challenges. So it could be that you're in a situation where, you know, you're not feeling comfortable or you're not feeling safe. So it's like wanting that, right? It's like, where do I find a safe space? Maybe outside of the home. So again, it could be, you know, for some of you who perhaps are a bit younger, it could be that, you know, maybe you have a difficult family life, but maybe school is a safe space for you, where, you know, you find your friends who are supportive, maybe like teachers who are supportive. Maybe you feel safe in that environment. So can you see how it's going to be different for different people? But it's this need for kind of like this warm, comfortable, safe environment is coming through. I don't know if this is something to do with your childhood and what you had or didn't have in childhood, because you've got the root girl here. Now obviously she looks like a tree, right? She's the root girl, so it's talking about her roots. And where do the roots reside but in the soil? So trees talk to me about sometimes roots of trees can be like the past, right? Your childhood, where you came from, your ancestry. And then the branches are symbolic of the future, you know, you kind of reaching up towards your goals and, you know, achieving your full potential and having personal growth. And then eventually, you know, having your own little acorns and your own little children who are going to continue that lineage. So not for all of you, you know, some of you are not necessarily interested in having children, but you can see how it kind of stretches out into the future. Like, where is your potential? Where is your growth? So again, you're going to be able to grow stronger if you're in a, if you came from, or if you're supported by good, nutritious, sturdy soil. So it talks about how, you know, people who are, you know, who have that feathered nest, who have that stable, supportive home life, have a safe place that they can branch out from, right? Because it's almost like knowing that that safety net's always there for you to fall back into. It's kind of like looking to me like a safety net, but it's like the nest catching you if you fall. So, you know, kind of being able to, you know, if you start your own business and that business doesn't work out and it fails, you know, you've always got your parents and your family home to go back to. So it's like security. They're giving me like security blanket. For those of you who don't have that, right, that can be, it can stunt your growth. And then the root girl, with it being the disowned self, she is being stunted, right? She's like looking down at her roots. So it feels a bit like analyzing, right, where the problem is, where, you know, and it could even talk about diet and nutrition as well, because to reach our full potential physically, we need to make sure we're giving our body the nutrients it needs. So this could be like looking at your own diet. You know, is there anything missing from my diet? Is there anything that my body needs that I'm not giving it? So it's this analyzation. So some of you could maybe be going to the doctor, maybe having blood tests. You know, I'm sometimes low on like folate and one of the irons. So, you know, I always know that I have to take more of that in my diet, you know, eating fortified cereals, whatever it is, spinach and kind of that kind of stuff. So yeah, just assessing again, kind of, are you giving yourself everything you need, kind of emotionally, physically, mentally, even the right stimulation to reach your full potential? Or are you feeling like there's something missing? For some of you, it could be a sense of encouragement. We've got this encouragement and listening here. So it seems to me like the little rabbit as well, like there's something about size, there's something about somebody. It could be parent-child, right? So maybe it's the need to have a parent, or to be a parent who is supportive and nurturing, and, you know, will listen and not have to, you know, fill the gaps. And like, so someone in my family, very, very well-meaning, if I've had a bad day and I want to just kind of vent and kind of get it off my chest and have somebody listen to me, they don't do it anymore. They kind of learned from this, but they used to always try and fix my problems, and they'd get quite angry and they'd be like, well, I'm going to go and speak to that person, or like, you know, like, you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, I'm not talking to you for a solution. It's actually just making me feel worse. What I need is for you to just go, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that must make you feel really bad. You know, that must have been really hard on you. Here, let me give you a hug. I'm not asking for a solution to my problems. I'm asking to be understood. So like when I explain this to them, you know, it took a while for them to understand this, but you know, they did learn. So again, it could be that you're just looking for, you know, somebody to believe in you, you know, somebody to give you that unconditional love, even when you fail. Or again, this could be something that you're providing for other people, or learning to provide. Again, I think sometimes parenting, so if this is you as a parent, I think sometimes it's really challenging. And, you know, the best of intentions, you know, we can really think we're doing the right thing. And then, you know, sometimes we can realize that maybe that what we were doing was actually damaging the child. You know, maybe what we were doing wasn't really what that child needed. So again, it's parenting, I think, is a really long, strong learning curve. But yeah, that idea of kind of like needing someone to encourage you and listen to you and help support your growth is coming through quite strongly there. It's interesting because you've got Dragon's Hoard under that, protecting the future, getting back to integrity, grace and generosity, as well as spiritual narcolepsy. So again, I sort of feel like being in touch with your own personal spiritual side, whatever that means to you, is really important. It's been a bit of a common theme in this set of readings, of the idea of kind of, you know, stop what you're doing and reassess, you know, go into that Four of Swords mode, where it's kind of like, you know, maybe I'm going to take a few days off work and just stay in bed and think about things. And, you know, it's this slowing down and reassessing energy that every sign seems to be experiencing. So again, it could just be the winter period, right? We all get a little bit burnt out. You know, sometimes we get sick and it's kind of like we need a week off because we're sick. And it just slows us down and makes us, you know, reassess. And I'm hearing like reassemble. It's kind of like Avengers Assemble. So yeah, you've got the soil. Some of the other cards that have come out for you. So you've got the Dance and the Deep Sea Astronaut. Fire, which is very, very relevant to you. Again, you've got that kind of Mars energy coming in, with Squirrel and Banquet. Okay, so I'm just thinking about how is the best way to explain what I'm seeing here. Let me go to my notes. Um, so I'm just shuffling around on my chair if you can hear that. It does sound like I'm making farting noises. It's just my leg on the chair. Okay. So for some of you, this, again, with this idea of feathering the nest and wanting to create a safe, warm, stable environment, whether that's for yourself or for other people. Again, if you're a parent, this is something you want to make, or maybe an expecting parent, you want to make this for your children. So I had this thing, my cat's kind of telling me stuff for you, which is really funny. So both my parents, who had Scorpio in the chart, my mum was a Scorpio. I think my dad actually did have Scorpio Mars or a significant Scorpio placement like that. So when a few months back, I was kind of thinking to myself, wow, I really wish we had a cat. I miss having a cat. You know, it's really good for everybody to kind of have an animal in the house. They provide emotional support, the soft, the cuddly, they make your heart kind of lift up. So maybe you're looking at getting like a pet. I was actually getting dogs a lot for you, so it's funny that it's coming through with my cat. But I remember going, I remember saying to my parents on the other side and kind of like my spirit guides and saying, if it's in everybody's best interest to have a cat, please will you bring me a cat? And the next week, my cousin was like, hey, we've got this cat, he's looking for a home. And it was perfect. He's a black cat. I love black cats. He's adorable. He just fits in with us so well. And so it was funny because he had a name written on his box, and the name on the box was the name my dad used to call me. And so for a while, it took me a while to realise, because we thought it was the cat's name. And we do call the cat by that name. But a few weeks later, I was like, oh my God, that's my dad. It was like my dad wrote on the, obviously he didn't physically write on the box, but I do think the universe turns the cog right and aligns things in a certain way. So it's almost like it was, it's almost like my dad was like, here you go. Yeah, it's in everybody's interest to have this cat. So I'm going to write, instead of it being the cat's name, it's like to me, right? It's like it's my name on the box because it was a gift to me. So it was really funny to me that how quickly that manifested, right? And again, it's because I manifested with good intentions. I was like, it's an emotional support animal for my youngest child, who's a Pisces. He's really soft and emotional. So it's good for him to have that, the cuddly animal. And and clearly the universe agreed because we got him. So it was coming through this idea of like Scorpio. It could be that you've been going, if it fits in everybody's best interest, so like my family, my children, those who depend on me, those who love me, if it suits us to have a lot of money, could we kind of like win the lottery or something, because we can get a better house, maybe we can do the repairs to the house that we need to do, maybe we can buy better furnishings, so we're all more comfortable. Maybe this is thinking about like, then I'd have the money for my children to kind of like go to university and really kind of like reach up to the full potential. So it seems like you've been trying to manifest money for some of you, especially I think those of you who, again, could be Scorpio Mars placement that I'm specifically talking to in this reading. But I heard this morning, more money, more problems. More money, more problems. So if you've been trying to manifest money specifically, like I want that lottery win, and you're like, why isn't it happening for me? It could be that because our guides, our loved ones on the other side, they know better. And it could be that, say you did get a lot of money, you could run into like tax problems. You could have people who turn out to be jealous or greedy around you. And there is something about being greedy here with the squirrel and the banquet, because the banquet to me does talk about not only having your needs met, right? Having good quality nutritious food on the table, but having an overflow of that, having too much food. So it could be that you maybe if they made it too easy for you and you had too much money, you'd overindulge, so it's kind of, that would be really unhealthy for you. So there's something about the squirrel at the banquet that I'm seeing, where obviously the squirrel takes the seeds, takes the nuts, and kind of buries them and hides them away. So there's something almost greedy about it. So not necessarily that anyone's greedy, because it's coming through in different ways. It could be that, right? It could be that someone's taking more than their fair share, maybe of what you have, or again, maybe this is, I think, is it Thanksgiving in America in November? So it could be that, at Thanksgiving or some kind of like, maybe it's even like Sunday dinner if you're in the UK, but there's like one person who, like, they take more than their fair share of the favourite thing. So there's not enough of everything else to go around. Could also be talking about governments and policies and things like this. But for others of you, it's looking to me like kind of like a doggy bag. Kind of like there's so much food at the table. My mum was like this. My mum was one of these people who she could feed an army, right? So we'd go around to her house for like Christmas dinner, and she put this buffet on, and there was just too much food, right? You couldn't eat it all, so you'd end up kind of like going home with like Tupperware boxes, and you'd have food for the week. So it's that kind of thing. And again, it's like my mum being a Scorpio, her need to kind of provide and nurture and make everybody happy, and showing that. Maybe my mum had, I can't remember my mum's full chart, but maybe she had kind of like a Venus Earth sign placement, maybe like Venus Capricorn or Venus Virgo, and she's like, let me feed you, let me show you love through food, right? So again, you could have someone like this around you. Again, maybe like a mother or grandmother, and they're kind of like, do you have enough food on your plate? Here, let me give you more. Kind of over, like giving you too much, filling your cup up, kind of making sure that you're satiated. So it could be something like that. And then like the squirrel, yeah, taking like the doggy back home. So again, take that as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. You're coming through this really soft energy. Again, you've got the cosmic womb there, divine feminine, starting your reading. I was getting this feeling, and again, I don't know if this is you and somebody else, like, or like flip and reverse it. So I'm going to read it as though somebody's following you around. Again, do just flip it and reverse it if it's the other situation, because it's kind of coming through. Again, I've kind of got like feminine Scorpio energy and masculine Scorpio energy. It's strange. So basically all morning my cat has been following me from room to room, right? With gorgeous loving cat. I came home from work yesterday, they were all over me. It's like, I missed you so much, where have you been? And then all day today it's kind of like, I'll go into the bathroom and the cat's trying to follow me into the bathroom and protecting my feet. So I keep having to say to the cat, I've like taught it the word toilet. Because it's like I get up to leave the room and he gets excited because he thinks he's going to get fed. So I have to say, no, I'm just going to the toilet. So I go toilet, toilet, toilet. And then he knows that he doesn't have to get up. Although, like I say, today he has been following me and protecting my feet while I pee and things like that. So it was giving me this message for you, Scorpio, that there could be somebody who really, it's like they really love you and they really want to be around you. Again, maybe this could be a child, like how a toddler gets very attached to the mother, and it's kind of like the mum leaves the room and the toddler's like, where did mum go? Where did mum go? And like, wanting to follow you into the kitchen and just kind of like wanting to go everywhere that you go. And again, it could be dad, right? So just flip it and reverse it as needs be. Or it could be, again, like in a relationship, like you're in a relationship with somebody and you could be very confident, like have your own stuff going on, being perhaps very magnetic, attractive, it's like people want more of you. I mean, again, the divine feminine energy, like it's a very attractive energy. I say this about the hair card as well. It's somebody who is looking to me like somebody who just has a really nice vibration to them, right? Somebody who makes people feel safe, makes people feel loved. It's like people want more of that. A lot of people are missing that from their lives. They don't have somebody to nurture them and feed them and, check on them and make sure they're okay and fuss over them and love them and hug them and squeeze them and what's that Bugs Bunny thing? I want to love you and squeeze you. Is it Bugs Bunny? I don't know. But yeah, so it's a really attractive energy. So again, it attracts a lot of kind of like followers. So you can see a lot of kind of like people with a big following, sort of like see you later, Toby. If you look at the acronym, see you later, Toby. Leaders, can have really strong Scorpio placements. It's a very magnetic, very attractive, very compelling energy, Scorpio energy. And again, it depends on your full birth chart, how you utilize this, how you apply it. But again, it's something to be aware of, how compelling you can be, how attractive you can be if you have strong feminine Scorpio energy, is the way it's coming through. Yeah, it's kind of like you could have a lot of people who follow you around. You could be you know, a big group of friends. You know, you could have a lot of people who are interested in getting into a relationship from you. I always say about this cycles hair card, it's like that one person at the party that all the kids gravitate to. You know, it's like they don't even do anything particularly to get the kids to go over to them, but they just have something about them. It's like maybe they give teacher vibes or like Sleeping Beauty princess vibes, and like the kids just flock to them. You know, it's kind of like walking around like the kids are like holding onto the legs. You know, it's like that person. You know, they just have that energy to them. So again, I get the feeling of like somebody kind of like trailing around behind you, you know, like you're kind of moving from room to room, you know, you're doing your day to day. And it's like this person wants to go everywhere that you're going. They want to be everywhere. It's kind of like they always want to be by your side. So, you know, you're just going to the shop and they're like, oh, I'll come with you. It's like they just want to be around you because you have that really lovely cosmic womb, divine feminine aura, basically. And it could be quite frustrating to you. You could get quite fed up of it, especially again if you maybe you're Scorpio sun but you have Scorpio Mars placement, because it's the masculine Mars placement seems to be a little bit like it's like trying to shake this person off or trying to have a bit of independence. Again, maybe if this is like Scorpio Sagittarius cusp, you know, it's like you don't want to be around that person all the time. It's almost like, you know, the sticky, it's like get off me, you know, trying to like shake them off. So again, just be aware that again, the Pluto aspect of Scorpio, Pluto can be very, very obsessive, right? Compulsive, obsessive. Scorpio energy as well can sometimes fall into obsession or addiction. So again, just be aware of that. You could have like a love addiction. You could really be stalking somebody on social media. Again, just talking about self-awareness. Is this you? Is this not you? Don't worry if it's not you. Don't get offended. You know, it's just a message for somebody else in that case. Again, like I keep saying, we've got a lot of different placements in our chart. So where Scorpio and Pluto are in your chart is going to be really personal to you. Not every message is going to be for you as the individual. But yeah, again, it's kind of like trying to get distance from this person or trying to, again, the coming through is maybe a bit smothering. Maybe you have got a bit of a smother where it's kind of like too much attention isn't necessarily a good thing. But it came through with One More Chance, which is interesting because it's a song by Madonna, right? And Madonna can be mother, right? The Madonna of the family, the mother of the family, like Mother Mary energy, which comes through quite a lot. But yeah, One More Chance. So let me just pull up the lyrics to this. I hope you're still with me, guys. I know sometimes I blather on a bit too much. I've got a lot of air in my chart. I talk too much, I know. So it says, I turned around too late to see the fallen star. I fell asleep and never saw the sun go down. I took your love for granted. I thought luck was always on my side. I turned around too late and you were gone. So give me one more chance, darling, if you care for me. Let me win your love, because you were always there for me. If you care for me, be there for me. I like to play the Queen of Hearts and never, right, a Queen of Cups could easily be Scorpio. You could also be dealing with a Cancerian. Doesn't have to be those two placements, but just to make you aware of that link. I like to play the Queen of Hearts and never thought I'd lose. I rolled the dice but never showed my hand. I planned it out so perfectly so you'd never leave a girl like me. I was a fool, but now I understand. So it's like, it's almost like somebody seeing their own manipulation in a situation. And again, manipulation in the situation. I like how that rhymes. Again, it could be people with Cancerian placements, could be people with Scorpio placements, maybe Pisces as well. I know I've spoken about this with my Pisces friends. It's kind of like enabling codependence, right, to keep people close. I used to know somebody, it was a female Scorpio, and they were very, very toxic. Again, it wasn't anyone who was like part of my family. It's just somebody that I knew, but they were like this, right? They really emotionally manipulated. It was low vibrational Scorpio energy. So high vibrational energy, Scorpio female energy is like High Priestess, Queen of Cups. It's really beautiful, but it can fall into the negative, right? It can fall into toxicity. So they really knew how to emotionally, it was kind of like a bit gaslighting, very emotionally manipulative of people. They really played people, and they had this kind of kind of like a stranglehold on the group, right? But they weren't really, there was something not high vibrational about them. There's stuff that was high vibrational about them. Again, we're just people, right? But they did like to, they were a little bit manipulative. So again, like, being self-aware of that and looking at where does my nurturing, where does my affection, where does my love and my Queen of Hearts energy, my Queen of Cups, King of Cups even energy, where does that turn into codependence and manipulation? Where have I been taking people's love for granted and expecting them to be there for me when I'm not that necessarily, giving back to those relationships? So again, it could be you, it could be somebody around you. Again, it could be like a mother placement. Take it as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But the next song that came out was Karma by Taylor Swift. So it's kind of like, again, have you been high vibrational? Have you been low vibrational? For the people who have been high vibrational and kind of like, giving from a really pure and innocent and genuine place and having a lot of self-awareness, there's going to be a big payoff for that. But for those of you who, or for people around you who have been emotionally manipulative and kind of like, taking people for granted, karma's gonna come around and bite them on the ass. So, which again is just a lesson, right? It's not the end of the world. It's just like, oh, thank you, karma, thank you, Saturn, for pointing that out to me, because I can learn and grow from that and be a better person and not make those same mistakes next time. I don't want to take people for granted. So again, it's nothing super serious. Just we're all learning lessons. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be you, it could be somebody around you. Karma, again, is a Capricorn energy. They're ruled by Saturn, which is the planet of karma. So again, it could be something to do with your 10th house. If you've got Capricorn placements, pay attention to those areas of your chart, because that could be where you're seeing this in November. Again, for some of you, how do I want to explain this? Okay, I'll go to this next. So this curse card here, sort of here in the reading, it's been coming up a lot recently. It's this idea of kind of like not saying it, right? Like holding it in. I think Virgo might have had this quite strongly, but I've seen this for quite a few signs. So it seems to be a running theme for November. It's almost like biting your tongue, or even in some cases, it's like being unable or prevented from saying what you want to say. So sometimes it comes through with like NDAs, or like court ordered do not disclose this kind of legality information. But for others of you, and the way it's coming through in your reading is like, just holding back, holding back and not saying, possibly, not telling someone how much you love them, or not telling them what they mean to you. It's almost like I can't find the words until the last moment. It's like until they've got one foot out the door, and then you just kind of blurt everything out, is the way it's coming through. For some of you, not for all of you. So I've got curse, not speaking or holding back until the last second as they are about to walk out of the door. So again, it goes in with taking someone for granted, right? It's almost like not wanting to show someone. It's almost being a bit hard, right? Being a bit hard, being a bit like, oh yeah, I don't need anyone. I'm a strong, independent Scorpio. If you leave, fine. No skin off my back, water off a duck's back kind of thing. But then them leaving and you kind of panicking and being like, no, like, wait a second, you mean the world to me. Like, actually, okay, I'm going to open up, I'm going to be vulnerable, if that's been something that's difficult for you. Again, it could be somebody around you. For others of you, this is more the masculine or Mars Scorpio energy. There's, again, this idea of something being really compelling. It's coming through almost like an invite. So I'm seeing this with, I've got here the dance and the deep sea astronaut. So the deep sea astronaut is like this deep dive into your emotions, or something that is emotional. It's kind of like you go to the bottom of the ocean and discover all these hidden secrets, normally of the self, or parts of yourself, parts of your emotional self that's unexplored, but it feeling like an adventure. It's feeling like something otherworldly, perhaps because it's the astronaut. And then the dance. So the dance at first I didn't understand, because the dance can be about negotiations. It's kind of like, sometimes there's more than one person in a dance, and you've got to kind of like move your feet in coordination to kind of like, otherwise you'll trip over each other. So it almost felt like exploring something deep and profound and emotional, but with another person, is the way it's coming through. I don't know if this is an opportunity that's going to open up for you, maybe towards the end of November, or later on. It's going to be different for everybody. It's a bit of a timeline. And so it feels like it's over on this side of the reading, kind of on the far side of whatever we're talking about here. The opportunity to explore the water realm. So again, if you're high priestess energy, it could just be consciousness, or altered states of being, not necessarily part of this mundane reality, and taking a deep dive and jumping into that kind of more subconscious or emotional space. So maybe some of you are doing like hypnoregression or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of opening up there. But for some of you, if this is relationships, again, it's coming through this person who's really compelling. It's coming through as the masculine, but remember that we have kind of yin yang energy, masculine, feminine energy as part of our chart anyway, no matter how, what our sex or our gender is, we all carry masculine and feminine placements. So again, just kind of make you aware of the terminology on that. It's specific to kind of like tarot and astrology. But the kind of Mars energy, or the masculine energy, is coming through as, again, very magnetic, very compelling. It's almost like going, because you've got these cards here as well, right? It's like surrender to the experience, give yourself to me. It's like that Madonna song, right? Surrender to the attraction, just dive straight in, fall into me kind of thing. But it being, I think it's going a bit deeper. Reciprocity seems to be a big theme coming through in the readings. Fierceness and chaos harpy. It's almost like surrender to your id, or surrender to your basic needs or basic desires. You don't have to be so much in your super ego, so much in your high vibrational energy. Sometimes you can, it's like the temptation perhaps to give into those base needs, which are not bad or wrong. They're just something to be self-aware of, right? And how much liberty you give them and how much restraint you give them is a different matter. That's sounding kinky, especially with what I'm about to say. So it's like somebody's offering you, or you're offering someone, this deep, meaningful experience. It's like, come on, like I can change your world. Like I'm going to change the way you think about things. I'm going to give you this whole, this really profound experience. It's quite sexy. It's very Scorpio. It's like the promise of a good time, right? Don't threaten me with a good time. And it's coming through with the songs Relight My Fire by Take That, which again, you've got Fire, and Love Shack by the B-52s. Now, I think it's Love Shack that's kind of getting my back up a little bit, because like Relight My Fire, it's very one's energy. It's very like put the spark back in my life, right? Make me feel something is the way it's coming through. But then with Love Shack, he says, I've got this Chrysler, it can take like, what is it, like 10 people, like it's all go to the Love Shack. So it could be that there's an opportunity coming up for some of you to perhaps be a little bit more experimental with relationships, perhaps to have open relationships, or to have maybe more of a hippie lifestyle, perhaps, is the way it's coming through. It gives a lot of red flags to me. It's definitely not something I would jump right into, right? It's definitely so, I think never say never, but yeah, for me, it's like there's immediately, like there's all these obstacles and barriers that go up. It's kind of like, I wouldn't just go with the flow in that kind of situation. I'd be like, right, give me the details. Like, where's the NDA? Let me read the small print. I think, in those kind of situations, they can be, and which is coming up in your reading, is this idea of kind of some people having a lot of influence and some people being easily influenced, and maybe the power dynamic can be off in those situations. Men and women in those situations have, again, sorry to genderize, but you know, women have the risk of getting pregnant, and then having to carry a baby for 9 months. It's going to change their body physically in a profound way, and then they have to raise that child for 18 years. You know, there are options available, but it's, you know, for a woman to be sexually liberal, there are certain genetic and you know, predispositions which made that a much more serious choice than for a guy who's just like, hey, let's go out and kind of have some fun, you know. And of course, you know, DNA is a thing. It's funny I'm saying NDA and DNA. So yeah, it's like, you know, a guy could also find himself having to pay child support in that situation. But I do think I do think women naturally have a bit more um consideration in those things. And of course women can get, that's the thing as well. It was coming through with like, you know, kind of like Hollywood parties in the 70s, and it's kind of like rock stars and groupies. And again, that power dynamic being off, and the women may go into it very voluntarily and, you know, be really excited for that experience and really enjoy the experience. But at the same time, you know, if that's a celebrity with a huge amount of money and, you know, fame, you know, and this is a groupie, maybe a young girl who's you know, there is a power dynamic that's off there, even if it is consensual, which I think is a dynamic to be explored. And again, it is coming through like that because it is coming through as somebody who's very, perhaps very experienced or very magnetic, very compelling, and being like, hey, come and have a good time. I'm going to change your life. And this person, because it's got that feeling of like, the puppy following you around, or the younger person, or, you know, somebody who's quite sweet and naive, and being really up for it, right? Being really enthusiastic because it's coming through as like they want to impress you. And again, flip it and reverse it, could be the other way around. It's like I'm seeing the younger energy, the kind of follower, as being like, I want to impress you, I want to be part of your group, right? It's because this person's so compelling. It's like, yeah, I want to get closer to you. I want to be part of this thing because it feels really good. But at the same time, this person's, I don't know, right? Again, I am not judging anyone. You know, we all have different paths in life. I think we all, you know, have to choose the relationships and the experiences that we need and that suit us. You know, I don't think everybody needs to be in a monogamous, you know, one-to-one relationship for 60, 70 years of their life. I think, you know, people are allowed to experiment. People are allowed to explore. Um, but I just want to say again, it could be that maybe somebody hasn't been entirely self-aware of how much power and influence they do have over other people, and have they been um, entirely correct in the choices they've been making. Again, you've got karma coming back around, so just be aware of that. For some of you, again, this idea of not speaking, it's got the feeling of being about to lose somebody, because it could be something, you know, that film Almost Famous, you know, where is it Penny Lane, is she called? And she's in that relationship with the rock star. And of course, the rock star kind of like, he I think he's got a wife, right? And he's got all these groupies, but she's Penny Lane. I think she's called Penny Lane. And you know, they have this quite mature relationship together, and I think he truly loves her. But I don't know. It's coming through like that, but you know, she's about to walk out, she's about to leave. And is he gonna tell her? Is he gonna say to her, you know, you are the one? You know, it's not just sex, I actually love you. And if he says that, is she gonna believe him? It's almost like it's almost coming through as like, again, especially if it's like Scorpio and Mars energy, it's like somebody who they have a lot of options, you know, and maybe they have quite a sexually liberal uh romance style, or you know, they've got a lot of partners, but there's that one, right, that really truly has the heart, and it's kind of like, it's almost like, you don't know what you actually do mean to me, is the way it's coming through. And there is some selfishness, I think, around that. But Again, it's coming through a lot of different ways, Scorpio, and you've got to pick which bits resonate and which bits don't, right? It's not every single thing is going to be for every single one of you. Okay, so you, like I say, you do start with the divine feminine, right? It's almost like, I don't know if you've got a mother on the other side, or it's just this concept of you know, bright white light, unconditional love energy, creation energy that is there for everybody to tap into. So for me, it's pure creation energy, it's pure love energy, and it's a resource, right? It's an energetic resource. You can tap into it for meditation. It makes you feel really good, you know, being in that vibration. And so it could be a question, Scorpio, again, that line in that Madonna song saying like, I was the Queen of Hearts. It's like, how do I embody this energy? How do I be the Madonna in my own life, you know? But then this coming through with the Six of Earth, which talks about balancing things out. So it could be about balancing out finances, time, resources, money. But with it coming with the Will card and the Tiger, again, it's like this fierceness. So it's coming through almost like, again, look at your full birth chart, because it's coming through as almost like an inner conflict, because it's followed by the Five of Fire afterwards as well, which is, it is conflict or arguments or aggression or fighting, right? With the Tiger, like it's this fighting energy. Now, the interesting thing with the Will and Tiger, it's actually depicting, I think it's Cali. Let me just find, because I don't want to kind of like misrepresent or misinterpret here. So let me just pull up the description. So it actually says exercise. So this is the Divine Animals Oracle Tech by Stacey DeMarco. I'm actually using several decks. Most of them are by Stacey DeMarco or Colette Baron Reed if you're interested in any of the decks, but each card is going to be from different decks. Exercise your will and determination in ethical ways. There's this big thing about ethics and karma and doing things the right way. It's a big theme in your reading. Do not place your will over another's. You do not have control over anyone but yourself. Again, watch out for emotional or sexual manipulation. Do not be afraid to be fierce, especially as a woman. We can ride our healthy anger, but we must eventually transform it into something more useful. So sometimes our anger is valid, right? Sometimes people hurt us or act in certain ways that makes us angry. I'm getting like ruffled feathers. It's like it's ruffling your nest, right? It's like maybe it's threatening your home. Maybe it's threatening your children. So it's kind of like, it's almost like, yeah, they're showing me the Scorpion card from it's this deck. This isn't the, I've got two versions of it. One is the official version. One is this like pocket size version. The Animal Spirit Oracle deck, there's a Scorpion card in it. Again, you are the Scorpion in the Zodiac. So it's like the sting in your tail, right? It's kind of like, you can be the Queen of Cups. You can have this big heart. You can be the King of Cups. But if somebody, I don't know, messes with your kids, messes with your loved ones, it's like the sting will come out. And Scorpios can be particularly vengeful. And sometimes, again, if you're the one kind of delivering, I don't think it's up for us as individuals to deliver karma. I think it's better to hand it over to spirit, because I think we can self-destruct when we go into vengeance mode. Again, this has been a common theme. Again, you've got like, you know, the, look at these here, like the fierceness and the harpy, right? Fierceness, Wolverine, chaos, harpy. It's almost like going into our werewolf mode, going into, you know, a part of ourself that is a little bit more bestial, it is a bit more fierce, it is a bit more primordial. And again, sometimes that could be perfectly valid. You know, if we have to fight our corner, if we have to defend ourselves, if we have to make a commotion to make change, then sometimes that can be really valid. I think I mentioned like the suffragettes in one of the readings where, you know, people criticize them for being quite harpy-like, but they needed to create change, and the only way to do it was to whip up a storm. So again, but it's kind of like, righteous anger is one thing, but utilizing it and controlling it and riding it and not just being you know, losing ourselves to it is quite important. You know, we have to funnel it and channel it in the right way. So like I say, this does represent a goddess. Let me just go back to the page. Durga. Durga came riding into people's lives on the back of a snarling tiger. She was a warrior and carried weapons to subdue and destroy, and yet her face was serene and calm. It was the evils of life she was after, the false illusions, the damaging rage, and the petty jealousies, greed, and anything that the will may choose to harm. So the Hindu goddess Durga is the embodiment of the powerful energy of Shakti. Again, divine feminine energy of Shakti. She wields it mightily to make the way clear. She protects the natural order of nature and the nature of self. She rides her tiger to preserve the will we have towards the good we can do, and towards subduing the negative parts of our will that we may wish to place upon others. So we are not controlled by these impulses, right? So it's like having control of our shadow. So it is making me think of kind of like, again, maybe look at your Mars placement, look at your Pluto placement. Scorpio did used to be ruled by both of these signs, and it can be Pluto and Mars, especially together, like I'm hearing conjunct. So again, just pay attention to Mars and Pluto going conjunct in your chart or your birth chart. It can be incredibly destructive. It's kind of like the Tower card in the tarot. It's this is not fit for purpose, so we have to destroy it, right? This is not fit for purpose, so my anger will consume it. So yeah, it can be incredibly destructive, but it can also be clearing the path, clearing the way for fresh air and new things to come in. So again, it is a power that needs to be wielded with a huge amount of caution. And I would be especially careful in November, which again is your birth month. Happy birthday, Scorpios, because the Five of Fire, the Five of Wands can actually indicate physical fighting, right? Physical competition. So just be super duper careful again that you're not getting a bit too forceful, especially a bit too physical with people, especially if this is because of something you want. It is a big red flag for me, let's just say that. It can come out like the Five of Fire can come out in a positive way if, for example, you were in some kind of competition that is a physical competition. So for example, if you were a professional boxer in the boxing ring, then this would be actually a very beneficial energy. Or for example, if you were running a race, right, and it's like you want to be first, you know, or if you were going for a job position but it was like there's only one position and there's a lot of people applying for that position, then these can be really, really positive because it does talk about fighting spirit, right, competitiveness, and the positive side of that. But again, just be really careful because it can so easily slip into something that is destructive and bad. And then the curse here as well, it's almost like, again, what is this about not being able to speak about this, or not being able to, it's coming through as not being able to spit it out. I wonder if it's something to do with the idea of fighting for what you want but not being able to say it, right? And this is a thing as well. Sometimes when people are not very good with, maybe you don't have a lot of air in your chart, so again, just be self-aware. It could be you, it could be somebody around you. You know, people who are not good with words, people who are very physical, but, you know, people who are physical or emotional, you know, it's like somebody who has a lot of earth, fire, and water in the chart. You know, they get worked up and then they punch walls, right? But, you know, the ability to, this, it's like the swords energy being missing, because the swords energy is about being able to be intellectual and self-analyze and be analytical and be logical and reasonable, and also communication. So being able to put those feelings into words, right? Being able to say, I am really angry because you did that thing to me and it offended me and it upset my home life, you know, and I can't, you know, it's not being able to get the words out to verbalize the emotional and physical things that's going on. So again, this can sometimes come through perhaps with young children, perhaps toddlers throwing a tantrum because they can't explain, right? So it comes out with a big fuss, you know. But you know, even with some adults, if they haven't got the ability to you know, bring logic into the situation, and to, again, the super ego, the Aquarian energy coming in and saying, hey, let's analyze this, let's look at this from a big picture point of view, let's, you know, step outside ourselves and kind of you know, really get an overview of what's going on here and then put that into words or writing, or, you know, have a conversation. You know, some people can just throw a punch or kick something over, or, you know, because it's like that energy has to get out. So again, just be super duper aware and super cautious about these things. But the the Nine of Water is about what you want, which again is next to, so it's like this with the will card. And again, the will card talks about your will, you know, your will not riding roughshod over what other people want, because the Nine of Water is actually about making yourself happy, right? Fulfilling your own needs, not needing to be codependent, or, you know, have people who are codependent latch onto you, but being able to kind of, you know, create your own emotional harmony and balance. But with the curse and with the will, I don't know, there's something worrying me. This is followed by heart, home, and compassion. Again, it's almost like the home is where the heart is, right? And I do think there is a lot of love inside you with the divine feminine and the cosmic womb, or again, the need for this, that it's just really coming through with the need to have some kind of supportive environment that's full of love, right? And it feels safe and warm and supportive, where there's encouragement, people listen to each other. And where people respect each other as well, because you have Anubis and respect, and this is very Plutonic to me. I know it's Anubis, but it has that kind of black death energy to it, right? That kind of esoteric, magical afterlife energy that Pluto also carries. So I'm seeing this as kind of something to do with that aspect of Scorpio energy, like respect your elders, perhaps. But in between this, you also have the owl card. Now, I do associate owls with Scorpio, sometimes Libra, because it's this kind of Athena energy. So maybe some of you are like Libra, Scorpio cusp. But the owl card is very high priestess. So the high priestess card, the owl card energy, they see a lot, right? They know a lot. They feel a lot. They have really good instincts. So it's this feeling of like knowing but not being able to say, because you can see how it's got big eyes but a tiny beak. So again, it's kind of like this thing about watching but not saying. And it could be, again, you could be watching somebody who's being mischievous but not calling them out on it, right? You could have somebody who's, it's kind of like the ruffling feathers, right? They're causing a fuss, but you're not saying it, you know, you're not calling them out, you're not, but then you have the call, right? So I want to say there is this moment, like I say, it's kind of like bottling something up and then spitting it out. It's making me think of that Annie DiFranco song. So there's an Annie DiFranco song, and it is quite nice. It says, you give me that look that looks like choking with water in your mouth, like you're deciding whether to swallow the words or spit them all out. It's something like that. It's like being on a planet that doesn't exist. Flying feels like falling, and falling feels like this. Something like that it is. I'll put it in the description box down below. You can go and look it up. Falling is like this. Annie DiFranco. Yeah, like you look like you're choosing between choking or spitting it all out. So I want to say there is this moment where whatever the situation is for you, whether it's telling somebody how much they matter to you, or, you know, it could be somebody who's really annoying you, and it's kind of like you just finally say it. So with the World card and call, so like I say, it's like calling somebody out, or, you know, ending this, right? We're done here. This is the end of this cycle. There's closure here. Like, I've learned everything I can from this situation. Kind of like, but at the same time, it's got this feeling of like leveling up. Again, you have the snake, right? The snake sheds its skin when it grows. And the call card actually is the judgment card, and it talks about reviving something that's dead, right? It's like people being called out of their graves. So you've got this feeling of like, closure but then instant revival, or closure and then new beginning. So it has the feeling of kind of like they're giving me, what's dead didn't stay dead, what's dead didn't stay dead, you're alive in my head, what's dead didn't stay dead. I think it's Taylor Swift. You're alive, so alive. Let me just make a note of it. What's dead didn't stay dead. I'm having a lot of trouble writing. it's like someone else has got, and it's not that I'm doing automatic writing, but like when I've been making your notes, I noticed my handwriting changed to something that was like, it went from kind of like I don't know, it's cursive joined up writing. So it went from kind of my normal print, which is a bit bubbly, into something that was like a bit longer and curly whirly. And I thought that's really funny because that's not my handwriting. And then it got really awkward to write. Like I was really struggling. It was like almost like the words were coming out like quite fragmented, or I was about to spell them wrong. So again, it could be somebody who struggles with finding the right words, or maybe somebody who struggles with handwriting. It's like my dad, right? I said my dad had strong Scorpio. He was left-handed and he was dyslexic, so he had a lot of trouble with writing in school because he went to school at an age where, you know, literally he had nuns who'd hit his hand with a ruler if he wrote with his left hand, because the devil writes with the left hand, right? So he'd have to, you know, even though he was left-handed and that was natural to him, he would be forced to write with his not dominant hand. And you know, he it kind of he struggled in childhood with the school system and things like that because of that. So again, like, and dyslexia as well, he's also dyslexic, so spelling was hard for him. Yeah, so I don't know why it's coming up like that, but again, it could be somebody who's like, they just, like, language is difficult for them, right? Words are difficult. It's not the main way of expressing themselves. So again, it has this feeling of kind of like, so the way I'm reading it, because it's mischief world, so it's like we're done with that. We're not doing that anymore. It's like I want to be respected. Maybe it's a relationship, right? I want to be respected in this relationship. Maybe it's with your own kids, right? These are the rules. They keep crossing the boundary. They keep crossing the line. So you're like, right, I'm done. Maybe it's like I'm cutting off support, right? Or, you know, you're not welcome into this home if you're just going to come and draw on the walls. I mean, not exactly like that, right? Because if it's a young child, you've kind of got to have that parental responsibility. But it's kind of like, maybe it's like, you know, maybe you're an older person, you've got 4 children, and there's that one black sheep of the family, and every time you invite them round for like Christmas or Thanksgiving, it's like they're eating more than their fair share, they're getting drunk, they're causing fights, and you're like, look, if you can't be, you know, a loving, respectful member of this family, then you can't come round when we're having family events anymore, right? You're too disruptive. So the door's closed to you. But then immediately reopening it and being like, I didn't mean it. Yeah, you know, of course you can, right, come in, like, right, fine. And then, so there's something about this, again, I don't feel like this is you. I feel like this is somebody around you. Again, it could be a Capricorn with it being the goat. So it's like then the flying, right? It's like there's something really childlike about them, like childlike and happy and kind of like playful and imaginative. Kind of, this always gives me like Pisces elements, because again, it's kind of like very magical, very almost like circusy. So I want to say, you know, you give this person a second chance, you know, give me one more chance. So give me one more chance. Maybe it's your own mother, right? If you've got a bit of a smother and, you know, they're a bit chaotic, you know, it's like, okay, I'll give you one more chance. But then with cycles, it's almost like they repeat the behavior, right? They do it again. And then, so it's like the 5 of Earth. It's like, no, I have to shut the door. I have to shut you out here. We can't keep repeating this behavior, right? We can't keep doing this. It could also be that somebody's traveling, right? So this could be world and flying, especially because you've got the connection and biome. Could be that somebody has to, you know, travel quite a long distance to get there. You know, maybe people live in different countries. There could be an element of that as well. But again, it's kind of like this, you know, no, I was right here. I shouldn't have given you the second chance. We've got to come apart, right? We've got to separate. Is the way it feels like it's coming through. But then it's confusing to me. I always get a bit confused towards the tail end of the reading, because you've got equality, seahorse, and connection, the biome, and then transformation. So maybe it is about physically creating distance, because you also have the 3 of fire as well, which is about like moving on. I always see this card as being a bit like, get in, bitch, we're going shopping kind of thing. It's like the car's outside humming and somebody's like, are you getting in? Right? Are you coming with me? Are you getting in? Asking you to surrender to the magnetism, perhaps. Like, are you gonna, like with the boat, are you gonna come with me? So it could be that somebody's, you know, leaving one home to go to another home, you know, wanting to, because I think birds do that, right? I had robins in the garden, and the mummy robin came in, she kind of made her nest, she had the babies, she raised them, she did a brilliant job, and then the baby robins flew the nest, and we never saw them again, right? We never saw any of the robins, even the mum didn't return to the nest, and she put a lot of hard work into that house, into that home. You know, she'd spent a long time building it. So it's kind of like she's probably off making a nest somewhere else this year. And she's probably got her little babies, her little robins are probably off making a nest somewhere else as well. So it could be that there's, you know, something to do with family all kind of maybe selling a home. Everybody's going off. Maybe this is the family home, right? Maybe this is 4 siblings and the mother passed away. So it's like, right, let's sell the parents' home and we're gonna all go and buy our own. Like, you know, we can't all live in that one house, but if we sell the house, then we'll all have a deposit for our own house. It could be something like that, right? But then it does go into this feeling. There's something about these two cards coming out together. They are from the same deck, Seahorse and Sea Otter. And with transformation, it's like you're changing from a seahorse into a sea otter is the way that I'm seeing it. So I'm like, what's the horse energy about? So if we look at the changes, like the girl goes from sitting outside of the water into being something that is of the water, right? So it's like stepping into your own Queen of Cups energy, stepping into your own High Priestess energy, stepping into your emotions. It's like going into that. It's kind of like I'm seeing it as the cosmic womb energy, right? Stepping into that cosmic womb energy and that transforming you. It's like the experience transforming you into being something that's more like, I want to say more like the masculine. And then there's something about the masculine. Can you see how he's almost like Poseidon and then he turns into this fish? And then there's something about, you know, how the seahorse is like, even though normally it's the women who kind of do all the baby stuff, you know, seahorses are known for being kind of like very maternal men, right? Does that make any sense? So there's something about that too, right? There's something about, it's like both of these two, the masculine and the feminine, or both parts of yourself are transforming because of this situation. And then there's something about equality as well, because your reading starts with, it's kind of like your reading starts and ends with the same energy. So I'm seeing kind of like the cosmic womb, the divine feminine, as this idea of kind of like consciousness or emotions, right? The water representing the cosmic womb energy. And then this 6 of Earth at the start of the reading, which talks about kind of like making something equal, like the bank balance being equal, right? With something that's being made equal between the masculine and feminine. So for some of you, it could be like a divorce, right? With the World card and the Call card and the 5 of Earth as well, the 5 of Pentacles. It could be something like that. You also have the word will in your reading. So it could be something about, you know, somebody's will. Like if a mother's passed over, it's like their will being split equally, maybe between a brother and sister. But there is something transformative about it as well. So it could be as well, like, you know, maybe, again, going back to what I started the reading with, if it's in, you know, maybe asking your ancestors, maybe asking your parents, if it's in everybody's best interest, I would like to have, you know, it would make me really happy to have that diamond, you know, it would make me really happy to have a certain amount of money, but it's my, and maybe paying your respects, right? Being very respectful. Maybe it's paying your respects because you've got like will as well. And being like, look, maybe even saying, look, this is what it would mean to me. This is what I would do with it. So for example, if I got a certain amount of money, inheritance wise, I could, you know, this is a tricky thing for me to talk about, but hypothetically speaking, if I won the lottery or if I had, you know, a certain amount of money come my way, you know, I could, my I'm just thinking how to put this, right? It's kind of like I could repair my house, like my roof needs repairing, and my boiler needs servicing. I need a new bathroom, I need a new kitchen, right? I'd be able to feather my nest and make my house a more pleasant space for my children. And my oldest kid the other week was asking me about universities, like how much does it cost? And I had this whole conversation about, well, it doesn't really matter how much it costs. There are routes and ways and funding and things available depending on what course you're doing. It's more about enjoying your life and doing something that your heart's in, right? Doing something that feels like it's in line with the way that you want to live your life and what you're interested in learning. And whether you go to university or not, you need to make sure that it's the right choice for you. And then money shouldn't be the deciding factor, right? Money shouldn't be the reason why you do or don't go into higher education. But if I had a certain amount of money, I would be able to say, right, that money is set aside, so they don't have to get a student loan. I can just pay for the course outright. And then they won't have that student debt hanging over their heads. So again, it's that idea of kind of what is and isn't in our greatest good, because again, you had more money, more problems. So I don't know exactly where this is going or how this applies to you personally, but I do think that's a really important message about, again, you've got a bit of Capricorn here. You could be a great king or queen of pentacles and have a lot of money and a really good career and have the fanciest home, but your kids could be miserable because you're always at work and you don't have time to listen to them. Perhaps you don't have time to listen to their problems, or even like especially younger children, like around the age of 10, where it's like, I want to tell you about Minecraft, this YouTuber did this thing and then I recreated it in Minecraft, and then there's this mob. It's like they want to come in and tell you about what's important to them, what they're really invested in, what they're really interested in. And sometimes you can just be like, oh my god, I've got work to do, like, right, okay, yeah, okay. But it's kind of like, make time to listen and encourage them in what they're interested in. I think that's another message there. There's a lot of different things coming through. Okay, let's get you a song to close out your reading. Are you on the move? Oh, my cat, he did a really important job then. He was sleeping a certain way for a very long time, and he got up and he moved and he lay back down and made himself comfortable. So it's a hard life being a cat, isn't it? Finding a comfy sleeping position. Right. So like I say, Love Shack currently playing. Again, it kind of, just be careful about people taking advantage of you. Even if you think at the time it's like, oh, that'll be really fun. I think what it's giving me is the idea of kind of like, something, I'm hearing like too good to be true. It's kind of like, even if it's not sexual, even if this is like a friendship group or a group of people that, this, like from the outside looking in, it's like they look really happy. They look like they have loads of fun. It looks like there's a lot of love in that environment. It looks like a supportive group, and getting into it for a good reason, because it's like, oh, that energy is really attractive to me. I feel like, I can have a really good experience if I join in with whatever that is. But then maybe being taken advantage of, or I think what specifically it's giving me is, like people who are there for a good time, and when it is a good time, it's like they seem like your friend and they seem like they've got your back and you seem like one big family. But when times are hard, people turn on each other and throw each other under the bus, and or like they desert you in your time of need. Like, you're the one who hasn't got any money, and all of a sudden, you know, people aren't answering your calls. So it's kind of like, good time girls kind of thing, or like good time guys. I don't know. Fair weather. That's the word, like fair weather friends. It's like they're there when you've got the money. They're there when the drinks have, when the banquet's on the table, when the drinks are flowing, when the music's playing. They're there and they're really happy to be your friend. But when you hit hard times, they've moved on to the next party. So it's kind of like working out who your friends are, something like that. But again, it's almost like this is a lesson that either it feels like it's on the horizon for you. It doesn't feel like it's something that's I mean, you'll know, right? It doesn't feel like something that you've had. It feels like an experience that's on the table. Do you want to come and get involved in this group or join this party, but almost like you could avoid learning the more difficult lessons just by going into it with, it's kind of like, see, yes, you can still go in and yes, you can still have a good time, but don't, it's kind of like have your wits about you, right? Don't give too much in this situation. Don't let people take advantage of you. Because it's kind of like, it's that feeling of, maybe you come into a bit of money, right? Maybe maybe you do win a little bit of money on the lottery or something like this. And so people are like, hey, all of a sudden, like, your phone's ringing, everybody's asking you out, like, do you want to come to this party? Do you want to come to the pub with me? And then you find yourself like paying for all the drinks and, paying for the taxi home. And it's that feeling of, my eldest is like this. They're Sagittarius, and Sagittarius, like, I think fire signs in general are very open-handed, right? They want to provide, they want to splurge, they want to spend money on the people that they love, right? They want to make people happy, and it comes from a very genuine place. But I used to say this to my eldest when they were quite young. They were in like junior school, like the first couple of years of junior school, and they'd spend the spends on their friends, and they'd be like, I bought my friend didn't have any money, so I bought them a new ruler. My friend didn't have any money, so I bought them an ice cream. And I'd be like, would they do the same for you? If you didn't have a ruler, or, if you didn't have money that day, would they buy you a ruler, or would they buy you ice cream? And it made them think a little bit, not in a way where it's like, I kind of, in a way where, they became self-aware enough to be like, am I letting people take advantage of me here? But still being like, do I still want to spend the money on them, even though I know that perhaps they wouldn't treat me the same way? Does that matter to me, or does that not matter to me? Do I still want to treat them anyway, even though I know that they're being a bit selfish? Because maybe I get something out of this myself. Maybe I feel good, or maybe, maybe, I want to go to the pictures. I don't want to go alone, but I've got money and my friend doesn't have money. So I'm going to pay for them to go to the pictures with me, because then I'll have the company, right? And they'll have a nice experience. We're both getting something out of this. I'm getting a companion and they're getting money and a good time, So yeah, it's like, what is and isn't equal in those situations, in those relationships, I think is something that's coming up. And is anyone taking advantage of the other? Somebody had, hang on, let me just go through your notes. It's making me think of somebody else's reading. Gosh, Libra got a lot. Why can I never find it? When I look back, I can never find what I'm looking for. It's so annoying. Who is that? Canceling of Virgo. Virgo had this thing about a scam, leaving a scam relationship for the Madonna. Right, so it's someone who is scamming someone. But then is again, they were like, oh, I really loved them. Like, it started as a scam because this person was old and kind and they were rich and their heart was dicky. But then I actually, they were actually really polite and kind, and I think I did fall in love with them a little bit. It's maybe this is the flip side of Virgo's reading. Okay, I'm getting, God, that's an old song. I'm getting, it's too late, baby, now it's too late. Da, 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 da. Let me pull that up. I don't even know who it's by. It's too late, baby, now it's too late. Carole King. So somebody could be called Carol. Stayed in bed all morning just to pass the time. There's something wrong here. There can be no denying. One of us is changing, or maybe we just stopped trying. And it's too late, baby, now it's too late. Though we really did try to make it. Something inside has died, and I can't hide it, and I can't fake it. It used to be so easy living here with you. You were light and breezy. I knew just what to do. Now you look so unhappy, and I feel like a fool. There'll be good times again for you and me, but we just can't stay together. Do you feel it too? You do have coming apart. Still, I'm glad for what we had and how I once loved you. So for some of you, it could be about a relationship breaking down. And just be, again, I am not reading for anyone personally. This is not going to be any single individual's 100% personal reading. But you should have enough self-awareness of your own situation and what's going on for you to know whether this is resonant for you or not. Don't leave a relationship or let someone leave you if that's not right for you and your relationship. Again, this is just a mirror. It's just food for thought. I am not telling anyone what to do or what not to do. I need to be really clear about that, because that's quite a serious decision that needs to be made on an individual basis. I'm just reading for general Scorpio energy and what might be going on for the collective, right? Let's get a song for you from my guides. The highest. So can I get a song please for Scorpio, or for whoever needs to hear it? Whatever song is going to do the most good in this moment. Blue Jeans. So it's the Lana Del Rey song, but it's a Sophia Karlberg cover. The name Sophia can indicate a very high vibrational woman. If you look at Carl Jung and his kind of animus, it's kind of like the woman who has self-actualized. Let me just pull it up. I love this song. One of my favorite songs. Blue Jeans by Lana Del Rey. She's such a gorgeous singer. Cancerian energy. Well, I think she's Cancer Leo cusp. Blue jeans, white shirt, walked into the room. You knew. Sorry, let me start again. Blue jeans, white shirt, walked into the room. You know you made my eyes burn. It was like James Dean for sure. You're so fresh to death and sick as cancer. Maybe it is a Cancerian. You were sort of punk rock. I grew up on hip hop, but you fit me better than my favorite sweater. And I know love is mean and love hurts, but I still remember the day we met in December. Love doesn't have to be mean and love doesn't have to hurt. And that is something I think Scorpios need to learn, right? Love doesn't have to be cruel to be kind. Love can just be kind, right? Love can just be divine feminine. It doesn't have to hurt, but it is important to find the right partner and somebody who reciprocates in the way that you need them to reciprocate. And not every single person is gonna match up like with every single placement of the chart. So, you know, sometimes if you've had a lot of toxic relationships, if you've had a lot of relationships that didn't work out, you've just not found the right one, right? But again, it is important to look at the role that we play, you know, and understand that we can't control our partner, we can't control our family, we can't control the people around us. We can only love them and guide them and hope that they choose the best path. And if it's come to the point where it has to break down and it's not right anymore for anyone involved, then you have to let them go, right? And you know best, right? You know your situation best. So it says, I will love you till the end of time. I would wait 1,000,000 years. Promise you'll remember that you're mine. Baby, can you see through the tears? Love you more than all those bitches before. Say you'll remember, say you'll remember. Sometimes love isn't enough, right? Big Dreams Gangster said you had to leave to start your life over. I was like, no, please stay here. We don't need no money, right? More money, more problems. We don't need no money. We could make it all work. But he headed out on Sunday, said he'd come home Monday. But I stayed up waiting, anticipating and pacing. But he was chasing paper, caught up in the game, and that was the last I heard. You went out every night, and baby, that's all right. I told you no matter what you did, I'd be by your side, 'cause I'm a ride or die, whether you fail or fly. Well, shit, at least you tried. But when you walked out of the door, a piece of me died. I told you I wanted more, and that's not what I had in mind. I just want it like before. We were dancing all night, and then they took you away and stole you out of my life. You just need to remember. So yeah, it's like, excuse me a second, guys. Sorry about that. It was my optician, so I kind of had to take the call. I ran out of contact lenses, so I was like, yes, I do actually need to speak to you. Yeah, I think I can't remember where we're going with this. Yeah, you know, I think that that's the hardest thing about relationships. When there is love there, when a relationship breaks down and we know that it's no longer fit for purpose, and it doesn't have to be romantic, right? It can be parent child, it can be friends, it can be siblings. But when we think, we get to that point where we think, do you know what, this is it for us, but you still love that person, especially I think because if you spent a long time with that person, um, you've been there through the ups and downs together. You've got a lot of memories. There is still love there. But like I say, there are a lot of relationships in this life where, you see them around you, you see them on TV all the time, where it's the people love each other desperately, and they can be the ride or die, but the relationship is toxic and detrimental to each other. And I think if we truly, truly love someone and we know that we're holding people back, or we're destroying each other through that relationship. Maybe there is a lot of physical fighting as well, like with the curse card. It can be hard to talk to people about what happens behind closed doors. So I think if we really love someone, sometimes we have to be selfless and let them go because we want the best for them. And I'm not blaming you, Scorpio, and I'm not saying, again, it could be you, it could be the other person. So again, flip it and reverse it. It's not about blame. It's about recognizing compatibility. And even if there's love, and even if perhaps once upon a time you and this person were highly compatible, sometimes situations change. Sometimes, life changes us as individuals, and we can get into a point where we think this relationship is not right anymore. It's just harming us. And it's mature to recognize that. I don't think sometimes we can be like, we can idealize things like marriage and the idea of kind of being with someone for all our life, and sometimes that works out great, and there's older couples out there who have been together and who are still deeply in love with each other and deeply supportive. But especially if you marry young, people grow, people change. The person who we were at, what, say you got married at 18, the person who we were at 18 is not the person who you are at 52. Life changes us, and where we were compatible at one point, sometimes we can both people can be changed in a way where it just doesn't work anymore, right? Those puzzle pieces no longer fit. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. So yeah, I think that's hard. But I do see you kind of like taking the plunge into something after coming apart. I feel like there are new connections, right? There is hope for growth and transformation as an individual. Let's have a look at what's under Luminous Warrior. Yeah, beauty way. Yeah, choosing something better, choosing something more beautiful. You've got the child card here as well, so it could definitely be something about um, children or people who are childlike, who perhaps need to be listened to and guided and given encouragement. And again, that could be you. There's definitely this thing about, it could be something about, because you are getting this parent-child thing, but also the disowned self. It could be something to do with, how people repeat patterns in relationships. So sometimes we can look to our own parents to see how to behave in relationships, what love should look like. And if our parents' relationship was somewhat toxic, we can think that's what life is supposed to be like. We can think that that's a healthy relationship or normal. And we can repeat those patterns. And sometimes, we can be craving, like our parents' attention, our father's attention, or our mother's attention. People say like you marry your mother, or, people have daddy issues. So it could be that. It could be like, we look at our partner and think, oh my God, I chose you because of childhood wounding, because my parents were toxic, and therefore I've got myself into a toxic relationship that kind of echoes those past wounds. So again, like maybe some of you need to go to therapy or have been in therapy, and you've been learning to process feelings, process reactions. That's always beneficial, I think. So again, a lot to think about. It's not going to be the same for every single one of you as an individual. You've got to take what resonates in the reading and leave anything that doesn't. You know your own situation best, and you know you best as well. You know where you're generating good karma for yourself and where you're generating bad karma for yourself. You know the state of your own relationships in your life and what is good and what is bad. You know when you're being high vibrational and maybe you're being a bit enabling or, you know, creating codependency. And again, that's not to say you are doing that, but you'll know if you are or you're not, I think, and having that self-awareness. So all good stuff. Please look after yourself, Scorpio, because again, no sign is good or bad, and Scorpio, you can carry that really beautiful high priestess, divine feminine energy, you know, Queen of Cups, King of Cups in the upright, and also that Mars energy of like the Emperor. So you are a bit of a powerhouse. You do bring a lot to the table. I want you to really see the best parts of yourself, but you can do that while also being aware of the things that aren't quite working out right and where you can improve. And none of us come to this earth perfect, right? None of us come to this earth, you know, like a god or a goddess, kind of like there's nothing wrong with me, I am divine. We can see the divinity in ourselves, but we can all see those little devils on our shoulders, which we all have, and just being like, do you know what, I see that part of myself for what it is, right? And I've got a handle on it and I'm going to do better. I hope that makes sense. Do take care of yourselves. I want to again give you lots of encouragement. You go out there and have those great experiences. You know, know your worth as well. Don't go into a situation where you feel like someone's going to take advantage of you, or you're chasing something where it's like chasing attention from someone, because maybe again that could be something to do with childhood wounding. Again, just self-awareness. Love you, Scorpios. Take care of yourselves. I will see you again soon. Bye, friends.